Hello everyone and welcome. We are at the grand final. We are announcing today the winner of the What Matters Writing Competition. I'm Craig Rucastle, patron of the What Matters Writing Competition, and thank you for joining me all week as we've announced many winners throughout different categories. It's been great to see some incredible stories throughout the week being told. But now we move on today to our final winner and also to our special prizes. And the first prize we have today is the Graham Freudenberg Prize. This is actually judged by former Premier of New South Wales, Bob Carr. He looks for a particular piece of writing that is a great commentary on social or political issues and which shows policy ideas or solutions. So let's get to the prize, and it goes to, huge congratulations, the winner of the Graham Freudenberg Award for 2021 is Bodhi Greatbatch Murphy from North Home Grammar School in New South Wales, for his entry, Golden Soil and Wealth for Toil, the Failings of Our Leaders.
When thousands of women march to Parliament House to demand to be heard, and they are met by the Prime Minister's response that at least they haven't been shot, how do we respond? To borrow the current Prime Minister's absurd logic that he is only able to understand women's issues when explained to him by his wife, how are his wife and daughters sufficiently heard when the government can't hold themselves accountable? How are we supposed to see effective political change when our government is so evidently rotten to the core? The answer? We follow the ideals and actions of great Australians like Gough Whitlam, the man who ended the inhumane White Australia policy, who made a university education economically available to all Australians, and began the first steps of land repatriation with traditional leaders of the Gurindjai people at the Wave Hill walkout. Whitlam declared at a parliamentary address in 1975, "We will not yield to blackmail. We will not turn over our government of this country to vested interests." To ask young Australians what matters is a difficult question. In my mind, it is the purity of our country's heart and our willingness to act in kindness and goodwill in the spirit of Gough Whitlam and the ideals of our nation. Thank you.
Well done, Bodhi. You articulated how leadership failures and a lack of transparency is eroding our trust in our nation's leaders. And can I just say, I just made a documentary on that very topic. Where were you, Bodhi? I wish you'd been here to write it with me. It would have been far better. As the winner of the Graham Freudenberg Award, you get to be flown to Canberra for a day where you will shadow political journalists and political speechwriters for the day. It's a fantastic prize, and I wish I could join you. Now we get on to our next prize. The Artistic Merit Award for 2021 in the What Matters Writing Competition reflects a piece of writing that has special imaginative qualities, achieved through exceptionally creative use of language and an outstanding concept, and is judged by our friends at Varuna, the National Writers' House. And the winner for this year is Jessie Brown from St Ives High School in New South Wales for her entry, You Matter.
When it all feels pointless, when you can't find a reason to leave the bed, when you wish for nothing more than to escape the prison of your head and just want out, remember, you make today better. You are someone's future, you are someone's reason, and we need you here. You matter.
Congratulations, Jessie. Your poem was both beautiful and uplifting, particularly given it was dealing with such a dark subject matter. And as the winner of this prize, you get a mentorship program with published author Holden Shepherd. You can send pieces of writing to him for comment, and you can also have a 30-minute guided mentoring program. So congratulations. We move on to our next award. This award is our school visit program, and thanks to the generosity of Westwards, we're not just announcing one winner, but instead 3 virtual school visits. And the winners are Strathfield Girls High School, Harrisdale Primary School, and the West Wyalong High School. We hope you have an enjoyable time with that. This has been the first year that I've been the patron of the What Matters Writing Competition, and can I just say thank you to all the teachers, parents, and guardians that helped out. But most of all, of course, to the students, the 5,500 of you that put the time into putting your words down on the page and sending them in. They truly were extraordinary, and we are so impressed by what we got. So thank you again. And now it's my time to hand over the reins to somebody else to do the final prize.
Hi, I'm Peter Shergold. I'm the Chancellor of Western Sydney University, have been now for 11 years. And every year, one of my highlights is reading the winning entries for the What Matters competition. This year was no exception. Always when I read the thoughts and the expressions of you young people, I find the energy and the enthusiasm, commitment, the passion, often some of the challenge. This year, what I've noticed is something just a bit different. There's a degree of subtlety and nuance in your writing, and I've really appreciated that. So thank you. Thank you to all of you for spending the time to write your ideas of the world and what it needs to become. Thank you to your mums and dads. Thank you to your friends. Thank you to your family and to your teachers for persuading you to take the time out. And now, well, with a digital roll of drums, I actually have the winner. The overall winner of this year's competition is Olivia Campbell from Presbyterian Ladies College, Melbourne, for that wonderful story, 5,000 Hours.
It would take 5,000 hours to say the names of each of my people murdered in World War II. 208 days without rest. 3 seconds for each of the 6 million. These people will always be gone. And my Safta still dreams, after 75 years, that she is a little girl in her night dress running from Nazis. Not discussing the Charlottesville massacre or the Yom Kippur shooting doesn't make these tragedies any less real. And my culture is not alone. I imagine my closest friend Nani and my neighbours Gita doing what my Safta has done with me, describing the Christchurch mosque shootings and the 2009 student attacks, explaining why the head of the Gandhi statue in the park was smashed in, or telling the story of the 14-year-old Palestinian girl who was shot in the eye and will never see her holy land returned to her. I wonder how long it will be until they each have the weight of 5,000 hours of stolen lives on their shoulders. I picture each of us explaining to our own grandchildren our people's history, YouTube clips and Facebook posts, alongside crumbling photographs. And I see those 5,000 hours growing further and further, infinitely, until they span lifetimes. Nobody deserves to be persecuted because of their faith, their kippah or sari or niqab. This mantra matters. So please, recite it until you cannot forget, until the whole world echoes with it, and nobody can. And remember that for each moment of silence, our clocks are ticking.
So thank you, Olivia. I loved the way you took something that was so complex and distilled it and put it into human terms. As I read your story, I could in some ways imagine the world through your eyes.
Hello everyone, my name's Leanne Smith and I'm the Director of the Whitlam Institute. Congratulations today to Olivia, Bodie, Jessie, as well as Harrisdale Primary, Strathfield Girls and West Wyalong High Schools. From all of us here at the Whitlam Institute, you've done a fantastic job. We're delighted to have been able to announce these winners today to wrap up what's been an amazing week of listening to and celebrating what matters to young Australians. This is such a special competition, and although it's been running for many years now, it remains a highlight for this institute and for me personally. Reading your entries can be challenging, as you don't shy away from the difficult topics. But that's what makes them all the more uplifting and energising, because your perspectives encourage us all to keep fighting for a more equal, open, tolerant and independent Australia, just like Gough Whitlam asked this institute to do. A huge thank you as well to our partners who have contributed prizes for all the category winners across the week, as well as those who've received the awards that we announced today. A special thank you to the Museum of Australian Democracy, the Writing Workshop, Reach Out, Writing New South Wales, Varuna, the National Writers' House, Westwards, the Southern Highlands newsletter, and Alan and Unwin. This competition simply wouldn't be possible without you. And a very special thanks again this year to the Crescent Foundation, whose generous support has ensured that this competition has become open to all students right across Australia. This has meant that this year we've heard from students from Dodgers Ferry on the east coast of Tasmania, Karratha on the northwest coast of Western Australia, Christmas Island, Alice Springs, Cairns, and everywhere in between. So if you haven't already, I encourage you to read today's entries and all the shortlisted entries in full on our website. Thank you again to all our entrants from across the country for your inspiring words and for sharing with us the things that really matter to you. We can't wait to read what you write next year. Stay safe, everyone.